you ever felt like happy but also full of despair?
Yeah, every time I record this podcast.
That's the warm embrace of Vin Diesel's singing voice, I think.
Hashtag sweet release.
I could kill myself to Vin Diesel's album.
You need to stop saying that every time I show you anything. I'm not going to make that decision for you.
I'm just saying it jokingly until you agree with me.
You're like, we could kill ourselves to this, right?
This is as soon as you say yes.
The pill's just been in your mouth the whole time.
Years ago, I taped a gun under this desk.
Oh my god! It's a weird pistol that shoots from two sides at the same time.
Yeah, it's a Kylo Ren sort of situation.
Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the Doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. What happened? I'm blacked out.
I think your chip just shorted.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do I have to do to get you into like Buzz Lightyear Spanish mode?
You know what the problem is I've been watching too much Raised by Wolves.
Okay.
Have you seen that show at all?
No.
Do you know what the deal is?
No.
Oh, really? It's
other than the poster looks vaguely kind of like it's a Westworld knockoff kind of thing.
Well,
it looks like it's got like some robot energy.
It's a Ridley Scott production.
Oh, okay.
So obviously,
so it's Blade Runner.
Well, the robots bleed milk. So
what?
That's every Ridley Scott robot bleeds milk.
Oh yeah.
But it's weird as hell. I mean, it's a Ridley Scott alien robot thing, but so needless to say, it's fucking weird. But it's kind of good.
Okay.
The rough thing is that in the 120 years in the future, the classic robots take over, blah, blah, blah. Humans sort of separate into this new religious sect and this atheist sect, and they're fighting each other, but they're also defending themselves against these robots. The show is surrounded around these two robots that take like human fetuses and bring them to another planet and try to grow them and create a new society.
Okay.
And so the two robots are mother and father, and the show's about them trying to like raise human children.
Jesus.
It's very crazy. It's bonkers crazy.
I mean, everything you just said is wild.
But there's also the humans end up, some of these humans end up on this planet too, to try to like steal these kids away.
Ah, Jesus. Humans keep fucking things up.
Yeah. And it's awesome. It's crazy. Utopia is really where it's at, but
yeah, you're into a bunch of like
new shows right now.
Yeah, you've been sort of plowing through things.
Yeah,
easy.
Speaking of plowing through, we got a review.
Ooh, oh my!
5-star review number 90. God, I can't wait till we get to 99 and 100.
Well, I mean,
because I saw
at this point we have 100 reviews,
but
when we actually get to
the ones that tipped us over the edge.
Yeah,
good lord.
So amazing.
So excited.
Yeah.
But number 90, still as valuable. Podcast Addict. It's from Jeff Whaley.
Jeff Whaley. I'm Jeff. How would you describe me? Am I Whaley?
More annoying, isn't it? How do I describe that? 5 stars. Jeff goes on to say, excellent podcast with great in-depth comics information and hilarious, dark, and goofy comedy. Hey, someone thinks we're doing comedy in here.
Yeah, that's what all of this has been.
Comedy gold.
It's been a laugh riot.
Jefferson. God, I wish that he could listen to it or know that existed. God, I just wish he had social media.
I'm sort of glad he didn't.
I wish he did so bad.
Well, I know. That's sort of why I'm glad he doesn't.
Jeff goes on to say, each week it feels like I'm 12 again reading Wizard Magazine. At least it's not Grand Wizard Magazine. That would be bad.
Good Lord. Oh, man, you're going to love this. If you like Grand Wizard Magazine, you're going to love this podcast.
You have this podcast that constantly talks about like diversity and LGBTQ rights and things like that.
Grand Wizard Magazine. That's a fucking funny joke. That's a good one.
Are you a nerd, but also don't like most of the population?
Wow.
Well, I got a magazine for you. Isn't that just called a Comics Gator?
Yeah.
I highly recommend it to anyone new or lapsed comics fans curious about DC.
That's an awesome review.
Thank you.
Now we've thanked you in
your native tongue,
in the language of your people.
I like that.
Yeah.
No news this week, so let's get into the theme.
Well, no, that sound is we're totally legitimate in making that sound because it's the second week of DOCTOBER.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy Halloween.
Jefferson. I've made you a cloak, Jefferson.
That's right. Put up the mistletoe because it's DOCTOBER.
and we don't know what a holiday is.
Stuff the turkey and give your love a card because it's DOCTOBER.
Yeah, I mean, we might want to refine the tagline for DOCTOBER a little bit, but yeah.
I don't understand. Ghosts and pumpkins, it is Halloween. Seems like...
Man, Nightmare Before Christmas really fucked us up.
I'm sorry, what is that?
Yeah, this is week 2 of DOCTOBER. And so for this episode, thought it would be fun to talk about like classic monsters as they exist in DC. So
real monsters?
Man, I wish there was like an eyeball holding hairy Danny DeVito type.
I mean, I could be that for you. I'm going to be a ball holding Danny DeVito type for you at least.
Oh my God. That is...
I don't know.
Do you know, every time Danny DeVito comes up, I just think of him in Batman Returns going, I'm going to show her my French flipper trick.
I don't even know what that is.
It's maybe the vilest line in all of cinema.
Clearly we need to make a movie.
But yes, I mean, things like vampires, werewolves, mummies, like those things that sort
Daddies.
Duddies. Like mummies, duddies.
Oh, I thought you were trying to do like a Dracula saying daddy.
Duddy.
Oh, daddy. I like it there.
So off the rails.
Putin. Right where?
Jesus Christ. Fucking maniac.
It's been a weird day.
Yeah, fair enough. Things you would consider to be those like in that like Universal Pictures kind of stable of classic movie monsters. They also exist in DC. It's not just, people with hawk wings who reincarnate and Dead Man and stuff like that. There are other kinds of horror creatures out there.
Wow.
So thought we would dive into that for DOCTOBER because that's a lot of fun. We got a bunch of questions.
I've been reading some comics late one night.
I mean, if it's not the monster fuck, I don't want to hear it.
The monster fuck. That's incredible.
That's one of my favorite bits.
I mean, that's
ever.
That's one of everybody's favorite bits.
Weiger just play. I think it ended up being number 1 when Comedy Bang Bang was hit its 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
This article came out and it was like the 50 greatest characters that ever showed up on Comedy Bang Bang.
It was number 1.
And that one was number 1.
Wow.
Weiger playing the guy that wrote the Monster Mash, who constantly comes on and sings his original version called the Monster Fuck. That was the number 1.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Higher than Cake Boss, higher than Gino.
Wow, really?
Higher than Todd, higher than any of them.
Well, you know what that means. The Monster Fuck needs its own podcast then.
Yeah. If
Gino Lombardi gets his own podcast.
A Monster Fuck podcast? That's outrageous. That's very funny.
That's incredible.
You hear us, Earwolf?
Yeah. No, you don't, because you keep kicking us off your subreddit. For some reason, that's become the main Reddit for podcasting.
Well, I think just so many people that have podcasts elsewhere also are on Earwolf.
But also everybody from Earwolf goes on other people's podcasts, so it's just been the place where people post about those podcasts.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah, it's a little odd.
Well, we got a lot of questions about this podcast theme.
How many?
It's so close to being my
11 podcast.
Putin podcast.
Yeah, it's not Transylvania. It's just Russian right now. I've lost it. Hang on. 11 podcast. No,
I want to podcast.
Hey, there you go.
Yes.
I like it.
I got it.
Let's get right into it.
Let's go to Facebook.
Go to the face and the book. Go to the Facebook. Facebook.
I'm in a fucking weird mood today. I don't know where it came from.
It's going to be funny because we're recording this one before the other. It's be funny if all of the other DOCTOBER episodes don't sound like this.
And if you listen to this podcast, it's at least for the consistency.
Oh, God. Yeah, our continuity is all fucked up now.
I mean, yeah, we really have to. Someone needs to create a doc wiki. I think that really needs to happen.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to say we need a crisis. We got to sort out.
Oh my God.
We got to sort out.
How have we not done that?
Hey, listen. When we get to annual number 5, that'll be a crisis.
I mean, 200 issues in. I think it's time.
It's time for a crisis. You think?
I mean,
Crisis on Infinite podcasts.
Oh my God. By infinite, we mean 2.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is there a crossover between the two ourselves?
Yeah, should we guest as the Ghost Facers on this?
I feel like that's been the last 100 episodes anyway.
Yeah, because we've just
been talking about that.
That's true.
Yeah,
Facebook.
First question comes from We've Only Just Dandon, who asks, can you tell me about Frankenstein, Agent of Shade? Is he alive or undead? Does his sword have a backstory?
Yeah. So this is...
Blah!
This is like the old days when you had that fucking soundboard.
Oh, yeah. Let us know if you want that soundboard back.
Yeah. A potato. Whatever.
A potato flew around my room until you came.
The dumbest shit of all time.
Anything to distract from the terrible third.
Right. So Frankenstein in DC is Frankenstein's monster, the classic.
It's weird that they would call it Frankenstein.
Assembled from different body parts. He's got the bolts. He's
seems weird.
He says he goes by Frankenstein just for simplicity's sake. Even in the comic, they're like, "Get off your fucking high horse." They're like, "Actually, Frankenstein's the doctor." It's like, we get it. You read the first third of the book. But basically, he is the Frankenstein's monster. Essentially, the way that you know him: a bunch of assembled dead body parts brought to life by Dr. Victor Frankenstein. But he has.
I thought that was your story.
No, I'm a bunch of hamburgers stuffed into a human corpse that gains sentience and cannot be satiated.
But it's weird that you're a cannibal as well.
Yeah, must eat more of my own kind. Delicious double cheeseburgers of my own kind.
Need more mass.
Oh. You know what? Fuck you. But yeah, so Frankenstein has struck out on his own. He becomes sort of this when he works for Shade. Shade is the I always forget what it stands for.
SHADE.
It's the superhuman advanced defense executive or something like that.
Sounds like you really wanted to spell shade.
Well, yeah, it's like, we have these letters available. Can you make your organization fit? But so he joins that, and then basically he sort of becomes as the book says, an agent for them, sort of fighting other kind of creatures and weird things and stuff like that. So it's a governmental organization. Frankenstein technically works for the United States government, but they're sort of fighting on the fringes.
Where are benefits? Me need health benefits.
Well, here's the thing. He is very much like the Frankenstein from the book because he is exceptionally well-spoken. He doesn't talk like that sort of broken up Bizarro or like Hulk talk. He's well-spoken. He's poetic. He is, he's a very like eloquent. He has like the tongue of an angel, but he's this like bruiser kind of comes in with the fists and this big ass sword.
And that's how they describe me. The tongue of an angel, a bit of a bruiser, comes with his big ass sword.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how you've been described.
Yeah. It's online. Don't look for it.
He is undead.
Yeah.
The definition of which is pretty hazy. But
have we done an undead episode yet?
We've talked about death in the afterlife and stuff like that, but maybe not exclusively undead.
Okay.
But I mean, the general principle is that
sounds like a DOCTOBER
he is like necrotic. He is dead, like rotting, like flesh, but he is animate.
That's what my therapist called me.
He's animate and conscious, and
I'm really concerned about things, but mostly those things are just dead things. I'm necrotic. I just really think zombies are going to come after me. God, you're being so necrotic right now. You love it. Fuck you. You love it.
I mean, what else can I do? I brought this monster to life. I mean, I brought him up to the top of the tower. I was there. I could have been hit by lightning even, you know. I was golfing that day. I had my clubs with me. I wasn't thinking. And I brought this creature to life and, you know.
I'm sorry, are you in Marvelous Miss Maisel?
Well, I'm being Woody Allen.
Yeah, I know.
How old is that girl? Tell me about her feet.
Oh, God. Ugh.
You went there.
So he is undead. Again, it just means he
was dead and is living.
It means, like, biologically, he doesn't have processes like a pumping heart or things like that. But he is conscious and he has thoughts and he can move and he's animate, but he's undead. We know also that it means something specific because do you remember you read like the first issue of that Future's End book, DOCTOBER last year?
Yes.
So in that Future's End big event, Frankenstein's in there actually a bunch. And at one point he loses his arm and they sew on the arm of a deceased Hawkman.
Okay.
But because Hawkman has the nth metal and the nth metal has a healing thing and it's Hawkman.
Yeah.
It starts healing Frankenstein. It actually brings him to life.
Whoa.
But he can't exist alive. Like, he doesn't have a pumping heart and stuff like he's just a bunch of assembled body parts.
Like
so
all the necessary parts to be alive aren't there.
So when he turns from undead to alive, he dies.
Weird.
It's like a weird kind of crazy thing.
But what's animating him?
It's like it's that sort of pseudo like science and magic kind of combination. Like I don't know that I don't think the comics have ever specifically delved into it. I don't even think
is it magic? I wonder.
Mary Shelley's book leans more on the science side. It's not like Dr. Frankenstein doesn't like make a deal with the devil or something. Like it's
not maybe a crossroads demon though.
Oh God, I wish. But like it's lightning strike. It's like all these things because we're on like the cusp of like really understanding the science of stuff. So it has that sort of like pseudo scientific sci-fi feel to it. Yeah, I mean, I think you could just say it's likely some sort of weird combination of dark magic and science, even though they never really get into the nitty gritty of it. But he is technically undead. Being alive is bad for Frankenstein. Being alive will kill him.
Okay. So what about the sword?
I don't think the sword, as far as I can remember, has a specific backstory. I could be very, very wrong there, but from the Frankenstein stuff that I've read, including, he shows up a bit in like Seven Soldiers, I think. And he shows up in he has his own series in the New 52. And he was in that Future's End, and he kind of pops up in these other kind of areas. I don't think I don't remember the sword having a particular backstory, but it's fucking badass. It's a massive sword. Because Frankenstein probably stands like 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
You know, he's big. He's not just like our size. He's like a big kind of hulkish monster, but eloquent, smart.
Yes.
Capable fighter. He's, you know, kind of got like a big Hellboy gun and stuff like that too. Like,
nice.
And Shade kind of has that like BPRD sort of vibe to it too. Like, it kind of feels like the Hellboy territory of the government a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you got a Frankenstein. I would assume as much.
Yeah. He's very cool. He's a cool character. Kind of like a Morrison-y sort of, like this current version of him is sort of like a Morrison kind of creation.
Is there like dedicated books?
Yeah. So in the New 52, he had a book called Frankenstein, Agent of Shade. I think it has a couple of volumes. It was Jeff Lemire, I think, wrote it. And it's pretty cool. I mean, it's not mainstream, right? Like, and it's not even that it's especially weird. It's just like, it's a monster and other monsters doing monster things on the fringes of the DC universe, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's leave Facebook and head on over to Twitter.
Twitter.
First question comes from Jaheen Alam, who asks, they got any big kaiju like Marvel does with the Fin Fang Foom?
Right. Fin Fang Foom is like a big dragon creature in Marvel. I think it's an Iron Man villain. But I don't know very much about it. But in terms of just like giant monsters, there's a few that have come up in different continuities of things. Even in like, well, let's start with something that's not the comic continuity.
Okay.
In Aquaman, in that movie,
there's some giant stuff in there, that's for sure.
But the big one is the Karathan, voiced by Julie Andrews.
Amazing.
My favorite like little bit of trivia is that Aquaman and the sequel to Mary Poppins came out on the same weekend, and only one of them had Julie Andrews.
Incredible.
So the Karathan in that movie is this giant kind of kaiju that's sort of crustacean-y, sort of like a squid, sort of like a kraken, sort of like a... Yeah, it's just this everything monster that's massive. That's a pretty cool one. And like it comes from like the core of the earth, and it's, basically indestructible.
Wow.
In main DC, there have definitely been like large monsters, but not necessarily ones that, at least not ones that I can think of, that feel like they've got like a character, kind of like a Karathan, or, you know, or like a Godzilla. Godzilla has like a character, right? There are like, you can side with Godzilla, you can feel for it. Sometimes Godzilla turns on you. Like there's stuff going on in that. Maybe the closest to like a big scary creature is in the New 52. They introduced a new version of the Ultra Humanite on the Prime Earth. So in the main continuity is a new version of the Ultra Humanite. The regular Ultra Humanite is starts as a person who has the ability to basically transplant their mind into other things.
Yeah.
And usually takes the form of this like albino gorilla with like a red like harness on. Is one of Superman's like first super villains in comics, was the Ultra Humanite. But in the New 52, they did something different. The Ultra Humanite was this creature in the Phantom Zone that would like feed on and amplify your fear. And it was in this arc called Horrorville, where there was a tear in the Phantom Zone, and this Ultra Humanite escapes and infects Smallville, and basically like starts making people live their worst fears, feeds off them, and it like, yeah, the town goes full horror basically. And it looks
I'm
like
surprised this TV show didn't do that. It seems like a classic like Smallville episode.
Well, the show was long done by the time this comic came around. This comic is from like 2013, 2014, something like that. But basically it ended up looking like this big Lovecraftian sort of squid like it's like, what does something from beyond our perception look like? It's got tentacles. It's that sort of like design.
Yeah.
But it was like a giant, scary, kind of kaiju-y creature, probably closer than anything else I can think of. There are characters that can get big, like Giganta, Atom Smasher, colossal boy, but they're not kaijus, they're people. Like,
yeah.
I can't think of another like monster other than that Ultra Humanite, at least not in the sort of modern era, last 10 years of comics.
Missing out.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of weird actually that way. I mean, maybe there's like a random issue of Aquaman where there's some like giant sea turtle or something like that. Like, there's probably something somewhere I'm not thinking about. I mean, I think you may have seen like large mythic creatures in Flashpoint because that's the battle between Amazons and Atlanteans. So I think there's like you may have seen like the Cerberus or some of those things from myth may have shown up. But as far as just like a new or kind of unique, like a big monster from the depths or from a mountain or like, I can't actually think of one. I don't think DC has like a Godzilla.
Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it is actually kind of strange when you think about it.
Anyways. Did you hear that?
What?
That sound.
What sound?
Is it?
Oh, God damn it.
I didn't realize it was morning. Must be the scream of a donkey. That's right. Braydon.
Can't believe I fucking bought into that.
The best was when I got you to go look at the window. That was my favorite one.
I mean, kudos to you for keeping it a little bit fresh.
I'm trying to,
Yeah.
After 200 episodes, I don't want the flame to die out. That's right. With the scream of a donkey, it must be morning. Next question comes from Braydon, who asks, who are some of the vampires in DC canon? And is Dracula one of them?
Right. So there are vampires in DC.
Whoa!
Essentially the way we conceive of them in the real world. They don't have special rules like the Twilight ones or stuff like that, where it's like, for some reason, you're made of crystal or some weird shit. Like, I recently rewatched all of those movies.
Because of your wife?
Yes. Because I love her.
I'll say this. The first one is beautifully shot. The rest of them are hot garbage.
I gotta say, even though they're hot garbage, I was so livid that I needed to know where it was going. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they do this? And then they'd be like, watch another. And I was like, maybe they'll fix it.
And do they?
No.
No, they don't.
Oh, God.
But that first one is beautifully shot.
First one is really well shot. It's still a bad movie, but it looks pretty good.
I've told my Twilight story on this podcast, haven't I?
I don't know that you have.
I'll give the Cole's notes. Basically, I didn't know what it was when it came into theaters. I hadn't read the books. I didn't know anything about it. I just was in a mall at the time looking for something to go see. And I looked up and I was like, Twilight, I think that's about vampires. And that's as much as I knew.
Sure.
And it was like 10 o'clock at night, and it was close to midnight, I think. My girlfriend was like doing stocking or something at the store she worked at. And so I was like, wow, I'll go watch a movie. And so I went into Twilight and I sat down at the front of the theater and because there was no seats left except for like one in the very front.
That was a big movie.
Yeah, but I didn't know.
Sure.
What I also didn't know was that was opening night.
You accidentally went to like
the
almost
first
a midnight
showing
screening of Twilight.
The first showing, and I didn't see anybody around because it was dark when it came in. It was like just the end of the of the opening credits, and I sat down and I was like, this is weird. Where are the scary parts? And then Robert Pattinson walked out, and I've never heard a louder sound than the sound of 600 girls who are 13 years old or younger scream at the exact same time. And I looked behind me and realized I was the one dude with a big mustache sitting in the front of a bunch of girls at a Twilight.
So this is the version of the story you told the judge, right?
I didn't know it was the opening.
We got a report that 600 teenage girls were screaming, and we showed up and this weird fucking guy was here.
Yeah. So,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's my Twilight.
There are regular vampires in DC.
Excellent.
As recently as the current Shazam series, they reference the existence of vampires. There are vampires that live in one of the 7 magic lands that Shazam has access to from the Rock of Eternity.
Wow.
I think it's called the Dark Lands. And there are vampires that live there. they're a real thing. There are vampires in Prime continuity. There's one called Andrew Bennett. He had a series called I, Vampire. And he basically is like this 16th century vampire.
I preferred I, Frankenstein.
Oh, God. Oof. Yeah. Andrew Bennett is a vampire that sort of like Blade fights other vampires.
But also the least threatening name ever.
Well, but it's supposed
Here he comes. He's going to kill all the vampires. Who is it? Andrew Bennett.
It's supposed to evoke like a nobler age, quote unquote, because he's like centuries old. It's like, who are you? It's like, I'm Andrew Bennett. Like,
no, it's
you know what I mean?
The only accent that works to make that good is, oh, my name's Andrew Bennett. That works a little bit, Sookie.
Oh, Vampire Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that
Bill
show.
Compton?
Man, that show was sexy.
It got so
and then
fucking crazy.
Season 2 with the weird like bacchanal kind of thing happening. I was like, this is the weirdest shit.
when the fairies showed up,
weird show.
Yeah, it was a real
solid
first season.
That first season is
great,
incredible,
great, so good.
There's a lot of side vampire talk here, but yeah. So Andrew Bennett is a big one. His sort of like former lover, but really his main adversary is she's called Mary Queen of Blood. Which is a great vampire name, by contrast. Dracula, though, does exist. There is like the Dracula, right? Whatever his name, Vlad Dracul or whatever his name, Vlad the Impaler, right?
Yeah.
We on a parallel Earth that whose number I don't necessarily remember, but it's like 40,
doctor, but it's
43 maybe, or 43. Is the world where the Elseworlds book Red Rain happens. So this is a book where Batman fights Dracula and Dracula bites him. And Batman becomes a vampire.
Of course.
So that universe keeps going and everyone becomes a vampire. In Final Crisis, you see the Ultraman, you see Ultraman from Earth 3 get bitten on Earth 43 and become a vampire.
Oh.
And that Ultraman is the one that gets fused with Superman into the big Superman kaiju thing. So there are vampires out in the multiverse, canonically descended from Dracula.
Yeah. There
is also he went by a different name, but there's an issue of Superman from, it's not that long ago. Mid-2000s, maybe the 90s. Mid-2000s, I think. And the setup of the issue is almost like the setup of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like they're invited to go to this count's place and they go, but they feel uneasy. And then like Lois is sort of like under this hypnotic thing. And it's kind of almost following the beats of the actual Dracula story. But at some point, that character who says he is Dracula, but has a different name, tries to bite Superman. It's not that his teeth break. His teeth do, I think, sink in, but it starts like destroying him because Superman is essentially a solar battery. So he's just biting into sunlight, which was sort of like a clever twist on it. But that character claimed to be the real Dracula as well. And that's a continuity story. So both in the multiverse and on the main continuity, I think you can make a reasonable claim that Dracula has existed, especially because Victor Frankenstein exists. Why wouldn't the sort of fictionalized Bram Stoker like version of Dracula? Why wouldn't he? Yes, lots of vampires. Maybe the most prominent one is probably Andrew Bennett. Dracula definitely exists, but there are just vampires out there in DC. They exist. You don't see them very much.
Did you watch the Netflix Dracula show?
The Dracula one or that Nosferatu?
No, the Dracula one. The one that was Stephen Moffat wrote.
Oh, no, I didn't at all. Was it any good?
It was really good. It gets bonkers at the very end, but I kind of like the weirdness.
Yeah, I don't know. Vampires are... I don't know that I've ever been like super into the myth of vampires, you know what I mean? Like, or werewolves, to be perfectly honest.
Really?
Like, they're there, it's cool, but like I've never been like, oh, cool, another vampire story, I gotta see where this goes. And that's not like a reaction to Twilight or something. I think I've always kind of been ambivalent about vampires, but yeah.
Fair. Hey Doc. What do you call a vampire that's a bad public speaker?
I don't know.
An umpire.
To quote said umpire, "You're out of here."
Hatcha! Next question comes from our favorite religious representative, Chris Chan.
Oh, what does Chris Chan ask?
He asks, if Batman lends himself to being Dracula, what about the rest of the big 7 Justice Leaguers?
Ooh, right. So we're trying to think of like what are monster analogs, right? Batman as a vampire makes a lot of sense visually and like with the iconography.
Yes.
What would we do with the other big 7? I mean, easy one.
Yeah.
Aquaman, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Done.
Easy.
I mean, though, you could also say that could be Martian Manhunter.
Well, I was thinking, but it was more like I was just like something water based.
I know.
There you go. I was actually thinking Martian Manhunter maybe more of like a werewolf kind of thing because of the shape shifting. I think is maybe why I was thinking that. Because he could turn into like a beast. Like it sort of mimics like the lycanthropy kind of thing. Maybe was a thought. Like God, some of these are tough though. Classic monsters.
Was Superman is that Frankenstein?
Right, like right. Who would be like a Frankenstein character? I mean, maybe it's Superman, but you're actually let's say the Flash, because at least you have the lightning, connection. You know, if you imagine a version of the Flash where he's kind of a monster, but the lightning gives him speed.
Oh, that's interesting.
Instead of it being like a side effect of his speed.
That's good. The Invisible Man could be Wonder Woman.
Oh, yeah, sure. Invisible Jet? Yes, absolutely. Great one.
Seems like a
very, very solid.
Direct correlation there.
I think... Who do we have left? Lantern,
the
Superman. I guess Lantern and like the Mummy, maybe.
That feels like
I'm
thinking, gotta give him something.
Well, but I'm sort of thinking of like the more modern movies, but like the Mummy could like make things out of sand and stuff, like from the Brendan Fraser movies.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like constructs. I think there's like you could maybe make a stretchy argument there for Lantern.
Sure.
To be a mummy.
Yeah. I mean, Superman could also be Phantom of the Opera.
Does he count as a classic
Apparently,
monster?
I've just looked up classic, Universal classic monsters, and that's listed as the first one.
He doesn't have... The Phantom of the Opera isn't like a monster in that he's not like supernatural.
Yeah, but he's slightly disfigured, and in the 1920s, that counts as a monster.
Well, yeah. It's like, let us show you out of society. Allow us to get the door.
Yeah, I think that's all of them.
God. Yeah. Yeah, Superman, maybe, I mean, again, these are big stretches. But if we're imagining a sort of Elseworldsy thing, you could maybe make a sort of Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing where maybe at nighttime he is Clark Kent because he doesn't have the sun to power him. And then in the daylight, the sun comes out and he gets the superpowers or something. You could maybe make him a Jekyll Hyde kind of character.
I mean, that makes sense, I would think.
That's the closest I think I can get for super. So let's just run them down again. Superman, Jekyll and Hyde, Batman, Dracula, Wonder Woman, Invisible Man, Flash, Frankenstein, Green Lantern, Mummy, Aquaman, Creature of the Black Lagoon, Martian Manhunter, Wolfman.
Yeah.
Cool. Did we just come up with the dopest DC monster book?
Did we just create the DC dark
we just successfully saved both the DCEU and the Dark Universe.
Yeah. Look at that. DC execs. You heard it.
Universal execs.
That's true. Both DC and Universal execs. WB and Universal.
Oh, God, that's funny.
You know who wrote us in the check.
That was a good question. I like that one.
That was fun. Next question comes from Walking Egg Roll, also known as Zuriel Asher. That makes me uncomfortable saying.
I mean, it's their name.
I mean, I guess, but it came out of my mouth. Hey, look, I was just doing my job.
Oh, no.
Who asks, what's the deal with Shade? I mean, do they tackle monsters or metas?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Shade is sort of...
Was that my wasp, Jerry Seinfeld? What's the deal?
It was very, like, yuppie-ish. It almost had that, like, shades of, like, Nicolas Cage in Vampire's Kiss kind of thing.
What's the deal with yachts? I can never get mine in the water when I need it.
Good God. Like, the hardest comedian to empathize with.
Why is the help always needing to get paid? Can't you just do the work for the love of it?
Christ almighty.
You know how you always have to wipe your butt with $100 bills? Why is there always not enough bills?
So insane. Really, really rich comedian playing dive bars.
It's Waspy Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, God, that's funny. Okay,
You just got yourself a new character, Residence.
Hey, that's good.
That's right.
Guess what? I just looked it up. I think I was right about the acronym. So Shade is the Superhuman Advanced Defense Executive.
Wow.
It is technically like a counterterrorism organization.
Counterterrorism?
It's me, Count Terrorism.
Such a bad character.
Three bombs.
I want to blow you up. Oh, no.
Count Terrorism. I stopped myself from making
more?
worse.
Yeah, no, me too.
So technically that is like the sort of designation because it is like a governmental organization.
Okay.
But they do deal in like the weird goings on. Now, does that mean that they're dealing with magic specifically? Because that's like Justice League Dark, you handle magic. Now, Justice League Dark also doesn't answer to the government. Do they only handle metas? That feels like normal superheroes. Again, not answering to the government. And also there's Argus and stuff like that that sort of deals with metahumans. I think Shade is a little bit of both. If we think that Frankenstein is like their primary agent, that's also a good metaphor for the type of stuff they're working on. Like, it's a weird fusion of like some kind of black magic and science. It's these kind of like, it's the fringes. It's the stuff that would get lost even in the magical community because maybe it's a little too science fiction.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's got a little, it's just stuff that would slip through the cracks. They're kind of in the weird corners of things. It's more a bit weird than necessarily specifically like, is this a magic thing? Send Shade in. And in that New 52 series, for example, Ray Palmer works for Shade. So the Atom works for Shade. So they have like high technology. He's a scientist that works for them, but it's also run by a character called Father Time, who every year on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, sheds his body and gets a new one.
Sure.
So there's both like weird magic crap happening over there, very like technical sciencey stuff. And I think that's the easiest description for Shade and where they live. It's somewhere between what you would consider the domains of like regular superheroes and the Justice League Dark.
It's the space between.
Oh, your wicked lies.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm happy to have a little DMB break because it's a much better contribution to the show than Count Terrorism.
Three people left alive.
After we record this, I will tell you the joke I didn't make.
3. It was the third building I went
That's
to.
essentially on track where it was going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Count Terrorism. That must be a t-shirt somewhere, right?
When I was in school as a kid, I really didn't like math.
600 degrees is not the temperature at which the...
Oh, I see. Jet fuel burns. Yeah, I was just saying I didn't really like math in school. I thought to me it felt like
That's such like a crazy escalate. That's like the Michael Scott, like, it was a hate crime.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Well, I hated it.
What terrorized me.
Good Lord. I hope that answers your question about shade.
Because we just gave that count some serious shade. Which he'd like because he's a vampire. Well, plastic up your bed and furniture, because the next question comes from the real Josh Gill.
Oh, Gill?
Oh, Gill. Everywhere.
Oh, no.
Oh, Gilled so many places. Gilled up the walls.
This is such a weird use of the word gill. We've never used it as a synonym for
trying something new out.
Wow. Yeah, we're past episode 200. Let's switch it up.
Yeah, gill on my face. Give me a bujashi.
Oh,
I technically didn't say anything wrong.
I think I understand why my parents don't listen to this show.
I figured your dad would, at least for all the big dick comments.
You know what? Since we're talking about it, yes. My mom listened.
No, yes,
and she left a comment.
No,
on YouTube.
Really? That's right.
The comment said, "Richard, this was definitely cringy." Horrified. Haven't called them since. Can't face them. Can't do it.
It'd be hard to face your dad. It's something in the way.
Christ almighty. What does Josh ask?
Oh, who even cares? Josh asks, Frankenstein better fit with the Creature Commandos or with Shade?
Right. So we've talked a bit about Shade.
Yeah.
Creature Commandos are a team from, they date back pretty far, I think, actually. They first appeared in 1980 in an issue of Weird War Tales. And they are...
Weird War Tale. So I was on the battlefield, and then this vampire shows up.
I mean, you're joking, but that's kind of what it was.
His name is Count Terrorist.
Weird War Tales was sort of like that. It was like the intersection of war comics and kind of horror-y stuff. Like we've talked about before, or we've mentioned before, like the Haunted Tank.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that, or a character called G.I. Robot. Or stuff like that. Like, those were all in Weird War Tales. It was like war comics that were also kind of horror or kind of science fiction or something else.
Weird War Tale. I dropped some napalm. Ended up being a school. Weird.
Oh, no.
So weird.
Yeah, I mean,
talk about awkward.
That's how I always describe the Vietnam War. It's weird.
Yeah.
It was a weird war.
It's totes awkward, you know? What? Welcome to episode 203, baby.
Oh my god, all over the place. But the Creature Commandos...
You talking about Gilling again?
The Creature Commandos are essentially what we were doing with that other question in that, like, you're sort of making a Dark Universe team.
Yeah.
It included, like, a regular human. It included a werewolf named Warren. It included a vampire who now I think his last name is like Velcoro, but for a bit his last name was Velcro. It included like a Frankenstein type monster, but not Frankenstein.
Oh, okay. An undead creature.
And it included like a Gorgon, like Medusa.
Really?
Yeah. Like that might have been maybe not the original Creature Commandos, but that was like one of their lineups. Huh. And so they were soldiers that were monsters, so they could do they were better soldiers, or they could go and do the occult stuff that was also happening during the war or things like that.
Yeah.
It was sort of the setup. In that New 52 series, now I don't know if I think the Creature Commandos showed up a little bit in some other things, but they're kind of on the fringes. You didn't see them all the time. I do think they had a connection or a part in Final Crisis, or the lead up to Final Crisis, because everything was part of that.
For sure.
And they were sort of connected to that, like what was happening in like the Command D bunker and like the Atomic Knights, the Dalmatian Knights and stuff like that. But in that New 52 Frankenstein Agent of Shade series, Shade basically puts a team of creature commandos together. So the creature commandos are actually part of Shade in that one. And it's a slightly different lineup because it includes Frankenstein's bride.
Oh, fun.
Which is dope.
Yeah.
It does have a werewolf. It has a mummy character named Kalis or something like that. There's also like a Black Lagoon kind of creature instead of having a Gorgon. There was, I think, a vampire. So it's that idea basically still of taking these like classic monster tropes and then fitting them in as this like Black Ops team or like something like that. Like it's a cool setup. It, like in a weird way, I think if you were, even though they're relatively unknown comic characters, I think you would have like that sort of Guardians of the Galaxy type sort of success, not necessarily to that scale, of course, but like I think that would be more successful than a thing like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or the Dark Universe. It's not about taking like, we need the Wolfman, we need the Jekyll, we need it's not about that. It's about just the trope or like the type, right? It's like you're building a team for RPG, right? You need your tank, you need your you're sort of assembling that. I kind of think a Creature Commandos thing would like, or even on TV, you know, like if that was a crossover they did for the Arrowverse, is that all these mainstream heroes have to encounter like the Creature Commandos, that shit would hit. It would be amazing. It'd be so cool. Like, I think there's something fun.
Feels like a Doom Patrol thing, but
it's more, yeah, exactly. Doom Patrol would be a way better fit. Yeah, totally. But like seeing like a vampire team up with a werewolf, team up with a mummy, it's just like fun shit. I think there's like potential in there that is still like, it's never going to sell like Batman or Superman. It's just not going to happen. But I think it's still relatively untapped. Like, I think people like that kind of thing.
Well, it's been so long since we've had something like that. I think besides those Adam Sandler Hotel Transylvania movies.
Adam Sandler?
Yeah, the Hotel Transylvania. You know the
Is he involved in that?
He plays Dracula.
I don't watch them.
Oh, they're really fun.
I don't like Sandler.
Really? Any of it?
Happy Gilmore, that's it.
Billy Madison?
No. Literally everything else Sandler has done, I could do without.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a travesty, but sure.
Okay. Well, yeah, he is.
Let's not go down that road.
But you know what I mean? Like, I think there's potential in the idea, and I don't know which piece is missing. Like, why it doesn't hit more, if it's just the genre thing, or I don't know why, because it feels like it should be such a slam dunk.
Well, and those Hotel Transylvania movies are really, really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, those are objectively popular movies. They made like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like those characters wouldn't work.
Yeah.
They're zeitgeisty enough that everyone would know what they are.
That's the thing. The thing with Guardians of the Galaxy is like, now we got to set up who the fuck all these people are. What are their powers, or like stuff like that. You don't have to do that with these. We know what a Wolfman could do.
I think
we know what a vampire is.
The problem is they tried to do it, and they tried to make it the Avengers and went too big too quickly.
It's that, but it's also trying to take the specific names from literature.
Yeah.
What the Creature Commandos do is just be like, you know, the Wolfman? This is kind of like that. But he also like straps on a helmet and he's part of this like military
This
unit.
is a Wolfman.
Everything about it is understandable. We know how soldiers work. We know how a Wolfman works. We know how, like, and now it's just, instead of going in and like taking out the sniper, they're going in and like stealing like an occult object, or like, you just slightly change it. It's basically a war movie with these kind of crazy characters.
Well, what they need to do is, I mean, you got to Earth One it.
Sure.
You got to.
Oh, fuck. Creature Commandos Earth One. Yeah. We don't even have like Flash in that. They go full straight to Creature Commandos.
Well, I just mean that you
I would love that, actually.
Like Green Lantern Earth One, what you got to do is, the only one that's from the original team is Frankenstein.
Sure.
The rest of the team are like new, it's a new Wolfman, it's a new Mummy. Yeah. These are new characters who are sort of gaining sentience or coming to life, and now have to sort of do the new legacy of what the Creature Commandos are.
Sure, yeah.
I think that's the way to do it. Make Frankenstein the leader, who has to sort of like, I've done this one time around, I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
And now I
already lost one team.
Exactly. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun concept. I mean, to answer this question, Frankenstein fits best, I think, in that version where the creature commandos are his team in Shade.
Yeah.
He kind of has this like higher calling with this shady government organization.
Shade.
And, you know, and he's like, listen, like, I'm wary of people that get too deep down this like science rabbit hole because like I killed my creator.
Yes.
like so he has this uneasy relationship with the brass, you know, but he's got this team. It's like we're freaks, but we're freaks together.
You could take my badge.
Yeah, it's got that energy, or like Fast and the Furious. Like they are a team working for people kind of like that they don't trust,
but they're family.
But they are family. I don't know. It kind of works.
It's been a long Halloween.
Two creature, two commando.
You, my friend.
Wow.
I like it.
Nice.
Next question comes from ABC.
Brooks.
It's easy as 1, 2, 3.
Brooks.
Easy as do, re, mi.
Brooks.
ABC.
Brooks.
1, 2, 3. Baby, you and me, Brooks.
I missed one. Brooks. Brooks, 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 Brooks,
Brooks. Come on to Neverland.
Oh
no. ABC Brooks asks, "You're gonna chum. Which DC monster are you with?"
This is an incredible question. I mean, a lot of people have danced around this kind of question with us before, where they're like, who would you rather go on a date with? Or like, who would like, blah, blah, blah. And
marry, fuck, kill.
Yeah. And this question is just like, you are already coming. Who are you with?
I mean, it's Bride of Frankenstein for me.
Oh, right. We could pick women.
Yeah, you always forget about that.
Literally always forget. I just assume.
I mean, I know who you would choose.
I'm actually not sure I know who I choose.
I know who you would choose. You get a MILF thing. It's got to be the Mummy.
Oh. It's a pilf, a pharaoh I'd like to fuck.
Oh my. I like the animal instincts of Wolfman.
Well, yeah. Do you know what's funny that
they love it doggy style?
Well, do you know what? Okay, that's funny. First of all, you know what else is odd though? You know, like we're recording this a little bit early, but in the zeitgeist of the time we're recording, I have seen images of like the werewolf, like the Wolfman from Van Helsing, all over the internet.
Really?
It's like being talked about because someone was like, look at these thick daddies, and like it's like those wolves like can kind of fuck. And it's been all over the internet. I've seen it for like a week.
Wow.
So there's a part of me that just has Wolfman in my head a little bit. God, it's tricky. I think ultimately sexiest is always vampire. There are the least monstrous.
Yes.
And they kind of have that like
sexuality.
They have that and the charisma seduction. And the like that's sort of their thing. That's like and like as a society, that's what that monster like is. It's like kind of what it represents is like this sort of,
you know, when they're
unrestrained sexuality,
sexually fluid and open to whatever. They've been around for a long time. They've got a lot of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's got to be. So I guess then I'm saying it's like Andrew Bennett or Mary Queen of Blood or something like that.
Fair.
I think I'm going vampire.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I think I'm chumming with a vampire.
Nice.
Which was my pitch. And then instead the studio made Interview with a Vampire.
Coming with a vampire. I don't understand. It's basically the same thing.
They said it was too on the nose.
What do you think the interview is for?
And I said, I can aim elsewhere.
That's why
it doesn't have to be on your nose.
That's why I choose the Mummy, so it's easy to clean up after.
Jesus Christ. That's fucking filthy. That is fucking filthy. Good Lord. Yeah, but then you get sand everywhere. I hate sand.
That's true, especially between your ass cheeks.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know you're the mummy, but is it okay if you call me daddy?
Okay, not to drag this question on too much longer, but like, does your position in the encounter change depending on which monster you're with?
Obviously.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like you top for some, you bottom for others.
Yeah, bottom for the mummy. I
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I would top the mummy.
You have to. You of course got a top for Wolfman, so you can do it doggy style.
I mean, you could bottom.
Got a bottom for Frankenstein because there's no way you're topping that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, let's really go down this road.
Yeah. We've got time.
Let's go to the next question.
Yeah, please.
From Robbie's Just This Guy.
And that's all we'll say on the matter.
Some of us think Robbie might be somebody else.
You can think that all you fucking want. You can't prove anything.
Wait, if I move the letters...
Robbie Marvolo Riddle.
It says the Dr. DC is not this guy.
Wow. You moved the letters around and there were more letters?
I don't know how it happened. Also, letters that weren't there and some that were that aren't there any longer. Who would have thought?
Your dyslexia is really acting up.
Pardon? Next question.
Padron?
Robbie Just This Guy asks, are there any notable stories in which a major character has faced an affliction like lycanthropy, vampirism, or mummification? If so, did it strengthen their bond with Dead Man?
Right.
So we just talked about Batman a little while ago.
Yeah, so Red Rain, very famous Elseworld story. That's Batman dealing with vampirism. I talked about that Superman story where he has that encounter with a vampire.
Yeah.
There are stories that have involved Andrew Bennett and roped in the Justice League Dark, right? I mean, his big thing is he's hunting.
Talking about chumming? Roping in.
Oh God, he's trying to stop Mary Queen of Blood from like turning everyone into a vampire. So then like that super team, Constantine, Satana, Deadman, they have to get in on it. So they're involved and entangled sort of in that world for a little bit there. The interesting part of this for me is the not one that I would have thought of, but the idea of like their bond with Deadman. So Deadman cannot be seen by the living.
Mm-hmm.
He has to take over a body in order to communicate or things like that. The people that are able to kind of see and communicate with Deadman without him doing that are generally connected to magic of some kind. So, like Dove of Hawk and Dove can see him, but she is connected to the power of the Lords of Order. Zatanna, Constantine, they're connected to magic. There are characters, I think, that have like seen or encountered death, and maybe for a brief moment they see Deadman. The question, I guess, would be: does undead count as
dead? Right?
Like, if you're undead, you're technically still in the mortal plane, but you can't die.
So do you think
or rather, you are already dead, but you're still in the mortal plane? That, like, as much as we can, that's a definition of undead.
So the deadies feel like these undeads are like cramping the style? Like,
maybe, I don't know that being undead gives you access to the spiritual realm, right? Like, I think it's like your body is dead, but your soul is still there. Mm-hmm. It's, like that's sort of my interpretation of it. Or maybe you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
these are all very like murky definitions because like, what is a soul? What is like life or death? Like, if you've been reanimated, is that not alive? Or it's all very gray area. So I think, can be free to interpret your own way. But my interpretation would be that being undead like Frankenstein does not automatically mean you could interact with Deadman. It also doesn't mean you could never, because there are mortal people that can see and interact with Deadman. Yeah. So if Frankenstein's got something else going on, that might be what allows him to do it. But I don't know if just being undead
is enough,
like a vampire or like Frankenstein, lets you do that.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's tough because like what's the line? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That thing that happened in Future's End was an interesting idea, but like, what does it mean? Like, what does it mean to go from undead to alive and then die because you were undead? Like,
it's a thing that DC plays pretty fast and loose with. So,
yeah, I mean, even at the best of times, in their most concrete sort of definitions, life and death are pretty fluid in DC.
Yeah.
So then to really blur those lines and in this world of magic and the occult and stuff like that, I mean, you can make a reasonable story argument that anyone tied to that world can see or interact with Dead Man.
Yeah.
You can also very reasonably not do that.
Jeez.
I think, personally, undead doesn't in itself give you access to the spirit realm. You can't interact with Dead Man or have a connection to him. But if you're undead, something else is probably going on in there. You might have some sort of like lingering connection to a magic that made you undead or to a spell or something. And that thing might be what allows you to see him or something.
It depends on how you are undead.
Yeah, I think that's how I read it. I don't have specific comic evidence for any of this, like ready to go. I'm sure you can find it in both directions. But
go both ways.
But that's I think where I land on that.
So, what about the other afflictions?
Oh, right. So, lycanthropy. So, werewolf style.
Sorry, what's the
werewolf style?
Isn't it doggy style? Yeah.
No, not anymore.
No. Not the way I do it.
Werewolf style is when I have sex once every full moon.
Not that often? You gotta give me some tips.
That's just what I'll give you.
Oh, just the tip. Just for a second.
It's not specifically like a werewolf story, but for a bit, like Animal Man's powers were sort of upgraded so that he wasn't just drawing on the power of an animal. He was sort of partly morphing into it. Like it used to just be, he would just be like, I need the strength of a wolf, and then he would just have that, but he'd still look like Animal Man, kind of like how Vixen, her powers work. But then the Red upgraded his powers a bit, and if he, for example, still drew on the power of a wolf, then he would get like Wolfman kind of arms and claws and teeth. Wow. So he got some of like the visual kind of thing of of lycanthropy, which is sort of interesting. I mean, werewolves definitely exist, but I can't think of a specific story. I'm sure there's like a Silver Age one or a Halloween special or something like that, but I can't think of a specific one where like a werewolf bites Green Lantern or like something like that happens. But there are definitely characters that have like some of the visual trademarks that we associate with those kind of classic monsters or things like that.
And mummification?
I mean, mummies.
Oh, mummy.
Do you know what's funny is that I can't think of a story that's involved like Hawkman.
Oh, interesting.
But also mummies.
You would think that would be
they should be more
pretty easy
connected than they are.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like it would maybe someone has kind of done. I mean, I know they've touched on the past lives before, or like what happens to their bones. Like for a bit, Hawkman and Hawkwoman's bones were put in the heart of the Star Sapphire Central Power Battery.
I didn't know they were musicians
because they're what?
They got the bones,
Oh, the trombones.
Yeah, so it's Riker.
That's a stretch.
So Riker calls the bone. He calls
been watching too much Star Trek lately.
I've been watching a lot. Yeah.
But their skeletons were put in the heart of the Star Sapphire Central Power Battery, indicating that like their eternal resurrecting love was powering the entire like love core, which is kind of crazy. But it would be interesting, like what would happen if like something kind of reanimated or resurrected a past life?
Yeah.
Like they've had access to their past lives. This like current Hawkman series has sort of played with the idea of them like sort of summoning past lives to help them in present day. But like what would happen if they were undeceased?
Oh yeah.
What happens if you take a past life of someone that reincarnates and make them undead? What does that do to you in the present? How do you defeat that? What is your connection to it?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like maybe there is a story like that and I'm missing it from like the Hawkworld run or something crazy, but like that feels like where I would go.
Yeah.
If I was doing like a kind of horror mummy
Hell
thing.
Yeah.
Deal with them.
It'd be super fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that was the last question.
Oh yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah. Maybe if you don't look at the questions and just listen to me.
I had one here and then I realized we sort of already talked about it. But...
I'm the one who drives the bus.
Oh my God.
Which now it means we have to play our favorite game.
Love this game.
Of course. Can you guess the name of the character based on who someone who does not read comic books can describe that character to us?
Nice.
Every single week. If you don't know how it goes, I show a photo of a DC character to my wife, and she sends me 4 clues. The doctor has to guess.
All right.
Who I'm talking about.
Wrong and strong. Let's do it, baby.
All right. First clue. Very simple. Badass babe.
Black Canary.
No. Next clue. Clue number 2.
Sorry.
Blonde bombshell.
I mean, how dare you? It's not black. Blonde bombshell, badass babe. Blackhawk. Is it Zinda Blake?
No.
Ooh, okay.
Third clue.
Okay.
Only has 1 sleeve. Was it lost in a sword fight?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Blonde, sleeve, sword fight. Oh, someone's yelling at me through their podcast app right now. Blonde. Ooh. The blonde is actually what's throwing me now. Fuck. Okay, I gotta guess something.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got a time limit. Famously, this podcast runs a tight ship. Yeah.
I mean, everyone's been thinking about this tight ship.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Actually,
Richard.
Yeah, that's something I haven't seen on our subreddit yet.
That's true.
No one's been shipping us. I think they can tell there's no chemistry.
Yeah, just pure animal magnetism.
There's no love, only fucking.
That's right.
Do you know what? I don't have even a guess for this round. I need the last clue.
Last clue. Her selfies would make you dorks say, "You am thirsty."
It's this. Okay, blonde, bombshell. I got it. Okay, the sleeve thing and the sword thing are throwing me. Who are blonde bombshells? Power Girl. It's not her.
No.
Who's another blonde bombshell? Harley. It's not her.
No.
The women that I'm thinking of that would use a sword are not blonde, and that's the bit that's tripping me.
Maybe there's a version of them.
Like, it's not Katana.
Nope.
It's not Shiva.
Nope.
It's not Talia.
No, this character is definitely always blonde.
Oh God, people are screaming at me right now. Is it an Amazon?
No.
It is an Amazon.
No. I wouldn't say no.
Well, just the way you said no was very like...
You'll get why.
Like it was a technicality.
No, not a technicality.
Fuck, I don't know.
You've mentioned in the last, I'd say, 20 minutes, this character's world.
This character's world.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember if you actually said the character's name, but I know that you talked about.
I mean, bombshell's not how I would describe it. Like Amethyst.
Yes.
Oh, because she was in Future's End with Frankenstein. Amethyst. There we go.
Total bombshell.
Yeah, well, yes, that drawing, that one that's like appears on the cover of the New 52 Sword of Sorcery series. But there are some versions of Amethyst that's like a Teen Titan. So I was like totally thrown off.
Oh no, I mean most of the
I
ones
was thrown
that I
off
see
by the
aren't
bombshell thing.
But most of them,
that image, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, wow, Amethyst.
There, it's great.
Yeah. Amethyst is a cool one. That's the one that I said would work like Game of Thrones. Because it's like all the crystals have their own house and it's all the political shit. Like, yeah. That'd be a cool like Game of Thrones DC series. Nice. Well, thank you for the extra clue. I wouldn't have gotten that.
What about you residents? Were you able to get that before the doctor?
Yeah.
Seems likely. Let us know online. Or send us a question for next week's episode.
Yeah, next week's episode, we're talking about mad science. So, experiments gone wrong, or
they're blinding me with
crazy robotics, or
that's mad science number 2.
I'm expecting someone to bring up Oolong Island or something like that. So,
it's not as good as a tea, but
it's more nefarious. Nothing's more nefarious than oolong tea.
That's what I say when I see your father. I go, ooh, long.
Jesus Christ.
That's right.
Or if someone tells like a really rambling, meandering gossip story, it's like, ooh, long tea.
Yeah.
Like,
not like us. They say, ooh, low tea.
Good Lord.
So if you want to send us a question for next week's episode or just talk to us online, all you have to do is reach out through our various social media platforms like our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast,
Twitter,
at Dr. DC,
Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast.
Well, go to our email,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
We have this subreddit.
r/Dr_DC.
Oh, dark phone always open.
208-917-3238.
And don't forget to go to our website,
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
And we always want those 5-star reviews.
Yeah,
we got one at the beginning. Just because we hit 100, I mean, it doesn't mean anything anyway. So
it does. At some point, when we have the time, we will be releasing on this feed the Lord of the Rings miniseries. It's happening.
Was it going in this feed?
Oh, I figured instead of like us paying for another thing, I was just going to throw it in this one. You want to make another one?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to.
Okay, well, sure.
I don't want to filth up this feed.
Yeah, again, famously tight ship run here. But yes, we have already hit 100. But keep those reviews coming. We'll come up with some other random, arbitrary reward and
or punishment.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can suggest one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you want more Doctor every single week, all you have to do is subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/DrDC. $5 and a $7 level. Every level gets a full bonus episode every week called the Double Dose. If I've done my math correctly, last week was our 100th Double Dose. So there's
100.
There's a ton of episodes of us geeking out about other stuff. Sometimes it's DC, sometimes it's not. A lot of Trek talk up there.
We may have just hit episode 100, but that Patreon's always been 100.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's kind of distracting from the point I was making. There's also
I've never done that before.
There's also bonus video episodes. There's you can vote on what we cover for one episode a month.
It's never our body.
There's extra fun things when we do special months like this, like Doctober, for Docmas, for Fanagar, all that kind of stuff.
Eatgist. How could we forget?
Yeah, or Eatgist. Good Lord.
And if you want even more of the Doctor and myself, we have a whole other podcast. You've heard us talk about Supernatural throughout these
and it's Doctober. It's spooky time of year.
Perfect time to
dive
get into it.
Into rewatching Supernatural with us.
That's
every
right.
single episode. It's Ghostfacers, a Supernatural rewatch wherever you get your podcasts.
Every single Monday.
Yeah.
All week long you got some from us, baby.
Yeah. Constant content.
Yeah, you're gonna chum.
I almost did that Katie Lang song again.
No one.
Ooh, constant contact.
I don't even know who possibly listening to this podcast would know that reference.
The Venn diagram of people that listen to us and enjoy the music of Katie Lang are two separate circles.
Yeah, those do not align at all.
Well,
it's you. It's you.
It overlaps a little bit. It's me. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for this week.
Adios.
Ciao. Ooh, very darkness.
They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
Scary bombs in the desert.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.